My name is Allie, and this is Mythic Melancholy. I am coming to you with my January wrap-up. Finally, it's late. February's been... It's been what it's been. So, you know. That's all I got to say about that. If I sound kind of funny or if I'm super sniffly, I am still getting over some cold thing, sickness. I don't know what it is. Something. I'm getting over something. But feeling quite a bit better than I was. And I want to get some filming done. I want to get my content back on track. So let's just go ahead and talk about the books that I read in January, some of which were good, some of which I didn't even finish. And yeah, let's get into it, shall we? So I read 10 books in January and then I had 2 DNFs. Let's start with the DNFs. We have The Shadow People by Graham Masterson. Look, I didn't make it very far into this book at all. I was not vibing with it. The writing was not doing it for me. And I've since heard that it has a lot of problematic elements. It's transphobic. It's just a pile of trash is what it seems like to me. And yeah, maybe I didn't read very much of it, but I don't need to. I don't want to. I will never finish that book. Then we have Muse of Nightmares. This one I don't feel quite as good about. Love Strange the Dreamer. Have a cat named Laszlo. Muse of Nightmares, I just can't click with. I read like 100 and something pages of it and it wasn't bad, but I just didn't care, okay? I just didn't care. The main antagonist doesn't do it for me at all. I was gonna push through, I was gonna finish it anyway, but you know what? By the end of January, I wasn't done with it yet. I hadn't read any more of it. I kept putting it off, and I just thought, you know what? I don't have time for this shit, okay? I got other stuff I want to read that I actually want to pick up. This is not that. I'm very sad about it, but at least at this point in time, I'm not gonna make myself finish this. I just don't care about it. Now 2 books I did finish. We have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This I gave 4 stars. It's like 4.5. There were just a couple elements that I didn't like. There was a kind of like student-teacher relationship in the college portion, and I didn't like the way it was handled or the way that it panned out or was dealt with. I understand that maybe the author was trying to be kind of realistic about how those things can go, and it was also like an abusive relationship. I just didn't really like how it went, but I just don't really like student-teacher relationships to begin with most of the time. So that for me was just kind of an ick, I guess. And overall the book was really, really good though. I loved the gaming aspects as a gamer. I thought the characters were really three-dimensional and really believable and you could really connect to them. And then about 3/4 of the way through the book, it decided to break my heart, which of course I love having my heart broken because apparently I enjoy suffering. Honestly though, the best part about it was just the brilliant writing. The writing drew me in right from the start. I was there for it. I was in it. And it was really good. It was a really good book. It dealt with a lot of difficult topics. Some well, some I didn't think quite as well. But that might just be a personal thing. And I would definitely recommend it. It's not something that I would usually read. It's not my normal kind of book, but fits into that kind of trying to read out of my comfort zone this year thing, and this was definitely a plus on that end. Then we have a couple that go together. We have Before the Coffee Gets Cold and then Tales from the Cafe, which is the sequel. I loved both of these. Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I gave 4 stars. I really loved it, but I loved some stories kind of more than others, and I didn't fall in love with all of it in its entirety. Like it didn't sink into me, I guess. I don't know. Not sure where I'm going with that. But overall, it was so good. It was better than I expected it to be. With the way the writing is and the way the story goes, it's not something that I would expect myself to really love, but it kind of feels like the cozy animes that I used to watch when I was younger, and I think that's part of why I loved it so much. This book focuses on the element of time travel, except for there's all these rules. You can't change things in the past. You can only meet people who have been in this cafe. You have to be in the cafe to time travel. You have to sit in a specific seat. You only have until your coffee gets cold, and then you have to go back to the present. So there's all these rules. Not a lot of people want to go back in time then, because why bother? Like, what is the point? But this story kind of, it's just a really interesting take on time travel, and it focuses on kind of grief and the development of these characters and how they deal with these things going on in their life, and how going back in time tends to be more for them than anything else. It's just a way for them to kind of deal with things and come to terms with things so that in the present they can move forward. And I think what I love most about it is honestly the cafe staff. They're kind of always in the background of these stories, and then they have their own stories going on, and those are the ones that I'm really connecting with the most. And then that's why I think I enjoyed Tales from the Cafe a little bit more, is because it kind of continues some of those stories of the cafe staff, and I felt really connected to them, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I'm reading the third one this month, and then there's a fourth one coming out end of this year, and I could probably just read these cozy cafe time travel emotional stories forever. I really, really enjoyed them. Tales from the Cafe was 5 stars, by the way. I actually enjoyed that one better than Before the Coffee It's Cold. Then we have Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I'm not going to talk about very much here. I gave this 4 stars. It was a sci-fi romp. It was a good time. It was a short little adventure. It was funny. It was very British. It was a good time, and it was better than I expected it to be. I was kind of expecting that I might not really like this, but I had a really good time with it, I think, because it was just so short and so fun. But there will be a live show for this at some point this month, whenever we can all make it work, because it's part of the Don't Forget Your Towel read along. And so eventually we'll be talking about this in more detail, and I will add the link for that down below whenever it actually happens. So we've got another 4-star read, and that is The Ghost Locket by Alison Rushby. This calls itself a Christmas time ghost story, but the Christmas time aspect, it's there, but it's not like the focus, which was good because I don't like reading about Christmas, especially outside of December, to be honest. This story focuses on a girl and her caretaker, who is like her mom's best friend because her mom is no longer alive, and she goes to this old house that she used to visit as a kid, and this house is haunted, and there's like this curse going on, and all sorts of things is happening, and she kind of has to like figure it out. There's like a mystery element and some spooky elements. The character felt so real, this main character. She felt her age. She dealt with things as someone her age would likely deal with things, and she had some character development and came into herself a little bit through the story, and I really, really enjoyed that aspect. I feel like some people might find her almost kind of annoying at times because of how she is acting her age, and she is quite young, but I really liked that aspect, and I thought it really lended itself to this story and how this young girl is now dealing with grief and just all sorts of things going on in her life. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I would definitely recommend. Then I read What Lies Between Us by John Mars for Chloe's Crime Scene Corner, and I gave this 3 stars. It was all right. I really liked the writing. That is the one thing I can say I really enjoyed, and that kept me kind of connected and into the story, was the writing. I want to read more from this author very badly now. I think I will like his other books a lot more. This one focuses on this woman and her mother, and she has her mother basically chained up in this upstairs bedroom, and like the house is soundproof and the mother could never leave. She basically has her mother held captive and jailed, and there's all these reasons behind it and all these things you find out, and the story just wasn't for me. I guessed a lot of the twists and stuff, which is fine. I don't always mind that depending on what kind of thriller it is, but I just, The story wasn't for me. I didn't like a lot of aspects of it. Some of the stuff is just things that I don't particularly enjoy reading about very much, and I didn't know that specific aspects were going to be in there going into it. So maybe not completely the fault of the book, but this one just didn't really do it for me, and I really didn't like the ending. Also, I thought the ending was kind of dumb. So then I read Small Angels by, I think, Lauren Owen. This I gave 3 stars as well. I almost want to give it 4 stars, but for a couple of reasons I just can't bring myself to bring the rating up. It was slow, and I don't mind slow, but I mean it was slow as in I was reading it slowly. I kept just picking up bits of this, and it took me a long time to end up getting through this book. There were just times when I was interested in the story, I was interested in some of these characters, but something wasn't totally clicking for me, and I didn't always find myself drawn to picking this up. This story follows Chloe, who is a woman who is getting married to her husband, who comes from the small town. They decided to have their wedding in this small town at this old church. There's all this history in this town, these spooky, weird things, these woods that are kind of like sentient woods, and like ghosts live in them, and all sorts of stuff. I don't want to say more just in case it gets spoilery, but there's just spooky woods times basically. And I did enjoy that, and I liked those aspects, and I liked how they were done, and I liked the way the story wrapped up, but it just, I don't know if it was just too long. There were parts of it that maybe weren't totally necessary. It would have lended itself better to a faster pace at times. I don't know. I wasn't gripped as much as I wanted to be with how much I thought the story was really cool. So because of that reason, I can only give it 3 stars. And then we have King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair. This was 4.5 stars, not quite 5, because it's just not quite there. It's not quite there for me. There were a couple parts where I was just like, I don't know how much I like that. I'm not sure about that. So it's 4.5, but overall I read this rather quickly. I was really into it. I was devouring it. I was here for the smutty, vampire-y, good times, the fantasy world, all of it. I was here for it. The enemies to lovers. I loved it. I loved it so much. I love Scarlett St. Clair's writing. I knew that I was going to enjoy this. This was not, there's basically no way this was going to be a bad book for me, and I will definitely be reading the sequel. This follows Adrian and Isolde and their love story, but also their lives, the stuff that's going on, the politics of the world. It's basically a forced marriage between them. And then love things, smut things, vampire things. I liked it. Then at the end of the month, I just randomly decided to read a couple graphic novels, and I picked up the Tea Dragon Festival and the Tea Dragon Tapestry, both of which are 5 stars, super cute. Loved them as much as I loved the first Tea Dragon graphic novel. These are, I'd say, probably middle grade graphic novels that follow a host of characters. They've got a good amount of diversity in them. They've got these cute little tea dragons, and it's just, they're cute and magical and fun, and the character development is sweet, and they're just cute. If you need a cute graphic novel, a quick graphic novel, something, just a palette cleanser of any kind, I highly recommend these. They're on Kindle Unlimited now as well, which is where I read them, and it was, yeah, they're cute. They're cute. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got for this January wrap up. I feel like we got through that decently fast, considering how much I tend to overly ramble about things. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment if you've read any of these books, if you think my thoughts are correct or incorrect, and I will see you in the next one. Also, maybe subscribe to see more of my face.